Hey everyone, welcome back to AWS On Air. We are live in Anaheim, California for AWS Reinforce 2023. I am one of your hosts. Hope everyone got some lunch in, but now we're going on to the second part of the day. I'm your host, Jeff Marushak. I am a senior solutions architect with our DoD Air Force team, and I was at the DC Summit in Washington, DC last week, and this is my first session here on the other side of the country. But let's introduce my other co-host, Alana. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm Alana Kelton. I'm a senior product manager with the AWS marketing launch marketing team, and I have been in the London Summit.
Oh.
So this is my first time back in the country.
That's great.
And my first time at Reinforce as well. So this has been really fun.
Awesome.
We have a guest today. And Ron, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you. Hi. It's great to be here. I'm Ron Kimchi. I'm the general manager for AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery and AWS Application Migration Service. So really great to be here and to reconnect.
So Ron, I wanted to congratulate you. As my tenure as an AWS host grows, you are my first repeat guest.
Nice.
So if any of my fans out there follow, me and Ron talked at reInvent last year in Las Vegas, also about DRS, and if I remember correctly, we talked about automatic failback. That was a feature that was announced at reInvent. But you're here to talk about a new feature of DRS, and let's start with what DRS is, and we'll go from there.
Great. So DRS is, or Elastic Disaster Recovery, as the name suggests, it's a disaster recovery service. And our goal is to allow our customers to minimize downtime and minimize data loss in case they need to recover their applications. We also support point-in-time recovery for data corruption, ransomware, etc. And the service basically addresses two main use cases. The first is for customers that still run their production workloads on premises and use AWS as their disaster recovery site. And the second, which we'll focus with this launch, is customers that are already running on AWS and use the service to do cross-region DR or cross-availability zone DR. And get all of these benefits. And the one thing I would call out whenever I present our service is the fact that our mission is to keep those recovery objectives as short as possible, but do it in a very efficient way. So we want to lower the ongoing cost, basically minimize all the usage of redundant resources for ongoing replication. We see customers that it just drops drastically their ongoing DR costs. But without compromising on those recovery objectives.
Yeah, so imagine, you mentioned this next feature is about customers that are already in AWS using DRS. There's a lot of things to keep track of: security groups, CIDR ranges, a whole bunch of different settings, network settings that I imagine as time goes on, people troubleshoot problems, new applications get installed, and exercising DR plans isn't always on the top of everyone's list of things to do. How is this new feature going to help them there?
Yeah, exactly. So our goal with this feature is to do exactly that, to take all of those configurations that are being changed very frequently, like you said, security groups, networking-related configurations, etc., and add the replication and recovery of those resources in addition to the primary workloads. So customers can now enable that, go through those common VPC settings, and just replicate those across AWS regions. And there are two main benefits. One, the obvious one, we want whenever we do a DR drill or a re-recovery, to have a working environment. So if we've opened a new port for a new application, we want that to be replicated and to be pre-configured in the recovery site, for example, and all of the other networking-related configurations. The second value is that we want to recover to a secure state. So if we've been closing ports or configuring security groups, so we'll have our production region or VPC fully secured, we want to make sure that in case we need to recover to another region, we'll have all of those security settings up to date, not drifted, and to get those on recovery as well.
Yeah, so I see we have, you're hooked up. Can you show us this in action and see what it looks like?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So I'm going to show you a quick demo of the new feature. And I will start with the background story. So in this case, we're doing a cross-region DR. We have our production in Ireland, and we're doing disaster recovery to Ohio. We can choose other regions, obviously. And I'll start with some background. So we try to keep it simple and generic. We have VPC on my source region. So again, this is my production. This is where I would do the ongoing settings.
Gotcha.
And we have two subnets here. They're connected to a route table. We have an internet gateway. And I'll jump over to the EC2 console here. So we'll see my instances.
And I see you're in the Ireland region right now.
Exactly. So I'm still in my source region. This is my production.
Yep.
I have two instances here, instance 1 and instance 2. If I'll just have a quick dive into instance 1, I can see that it's in subnet 1.
Yep.
And I have some security group SG1, and here I have a port with 5 ones that is open for this instance.
Yeah, so really quick, go back to that security.
Yeah.
Just go back to the instance 1 security groups, just to let the viewers know that what we're seeing at the bottom here is that there's a security group. It's basically a firewall that is saying for, what is it, port range, quad ones, 11111 protocol is allowed anywhere. And so that's basically some firewall rules basically for that EC2 instance. Yep.
Exactly. And we can see that in the second instance, we have a different one. We have
22222. Okay.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Right.
Simple as that. So that's my production, and obviously think how it works if I have thousands or tens of thousands of instances with lots of ports, and I need to manage those on a daily basis. Now I'm going to jump over to DRS in my recovery site. So I'll jump onto DRS, and let's move on to Ohio. So this is my recovery site. And in general, when I'm doing disaster recovery, one of our key tenets is that recovery is always done on the recovery region with zero dependencies of the source infrastructure.
Okay.
So let's open up the source servers. I've installed the agent on these two instances in advance. We can do that by from the Systems Manager console or by manually installing the DRS agent. And I can see that these two instances are protected and replicating. Now, the new thing here, you can see the source networks. This is the new page that we've added in this launch.
Okay.
And as soon as I've installed these instances, we've done automatic discovery of everything. All of those settings, subnets, security groups, and the VPC itself, and open up this row here. And customers only need to start replication in order to protect that VPC with these settings. So onboarding is extremely simple. We've done that. And that VPC is being replicated on an ongoing basis along with those instances.
So, Ron, it's at the VPC level.
Yeah.
Can you choose to not replicate certain things? Because I know in an ideal world you want it to be exactly the same. Sometimes it's not. Can you pick and choose?
Yeah, so first of all, at this first launch, you can do that. If you go into the advanced mode, you can export. Basically, we work with the CloudFormation stack, which we create. You can edit it. You can update it from there. And whenever you want to recover, let's say that now I have a downtime or from whichever region, or if I just want to run a DR drill, I can first of all recover my VPC. And I can update the existing one. If I have one, maybe I've added additional configurations there or whatnot. Or I can create a new stack if I want to have a test in a dedicated silo and just terminate it after the drill. So after we recover the VPC, I can go on back to my servers and recover all my EC2 instances into that VPC. So again, think of a large number. I can select all of them and initiate the recovery as always. Once I do that, those instances will be recovered into my VPC. So let's have a quick look at that.
Sure. What's neat is that even I could see how now the VPC is being treated as if it's an entity as itself.
Exactly.
Whereas you mentioned you have to install the agent on the EC2s, and you said we did that first, we got them all set up, they're ready. Now we're treating the VPC like that as well. Even though you won't need an agent, but you're going to select the VPC and wait for it to be replicated and ready for
Exactly, and I
failover.
would want to test it as well on my DR drills, and it's extremely simple. After I do that, I can just very easily go to that launched VPC. Now again, now I'm in my target region, I'm in my recovery region, and I can see that I have the exact same topology. I have my two subnets with that route table and the internet gateway. If I'll go on into the EC2 console here, on my recovery region, I would have my two recovered EC2 instances. So I have the instance 1 and 2, and I will get the same settings that we've seen before. The association to the subnet over here.
Yep.
And most importantly, if I'll go into the security tab,
We should see 1111.
exactly.
Yep.
So I see the port here. Now, this is, from my point of view, a game changer in scalability. You can manage a large enterprise operation that way. And in general, if you see, most of the demo was not in the DRS console. We wanted to make it as easy as possible to recover, having our customers focusing on their production workloads, and whenever they need to recover, do it as simply as possible with click of a button, and everything is set up for them. You don't need to do any tough configurations in advance. Everything was mapped automatically.
So before this feature, you had to manually create the target VPC and manually make sure all those same security groups and everything was there. This is just automating that.
Exactly, and maintaining it over time, which was the biggest challenge, I think, for most customers.
And
Yeah.
Ron, sorry, it sounds like this is one of those features where you have those options of, just kind of setting it up, letting it go, or you can, like you were saying, use the more advanced mode and kind of get into it a little more deeply and manage it yourself that way too. So it's got that flexibility from both sides.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sorry for that question, but I know a customer.
No, it's a fair question.
A customer, that's going to be one of the first things I get asked if I'm talking to my customers about this. Like, oh, it is slightly different because, unfortunately, the target areas, even in the cloud, can be slightly different by design, and sometimes there's good reasons for that. But awesome.
Yeah, and especially for drills, we see sometimes that customers want to run a drill in a different environment, and we can support it with that.
Yeah, and I could see maybe you wouldn't want an internet gateway for a drill, like you wouldn't want to open that workload up to the public. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so anything else? We got about 2 minutes left, Ron. Anything else you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I think that our...
Oh, I actually had a...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
If you already have an environment set up in DRS, now we've just announced this new feature. Is it hard to onboard the VPC automation tracking?
Extremely. No, I'm kidding. It's very simple. We worked to get it as simple as possible, and that's because all of the discovery is automatic. So basically, if I'll go back to the source networks...
Well, because I was thinking, if you had to manually create that target VPC, and it's kind of totally off from what sounds like a CloudFormation script is being created, I could see that being kind of fuzzy the first time it runs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly why we have two modes on the recovery. You can update an existing stack or your existing VPC, or you can create a new fresh one, which is an exact copy of your source environment, and start recovery to that one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So that's exactly for those drills and for the initial settings, to make it as simple as possible. And as you said, if you want to go into an advanced mode, you can export the CFN template, manually edit it, and use it as well.
Awesome. So where would folks who are interested in this can look for more information?
So going to the AWS console, to Elastic Disaster Recovery, and everything goes pretty straightforward from there.
Well, that sounds good. So, Ron, we've talked now at reInvent, now reInforce 2023. Am I going to see you at reInvent in Las Vegas?
Of course,
All
with,
right.
with more surprises to come.
Great. Awesome. Ron, thank you for
Thank you.
joining us. And we are live here in Anaheim, California for AWS Reinforce 2023. We'll be back momentarily. Thank you.